The city's public safety program sees another delay in a change in management.
This was all supposed to be wrapped up by January. What's going on?
The red flags being raised for the struggling agency. Maryland's NAACP continues to fight for your child's education.
We have to work harder and work better together.
The concerns they still have after meeting with school leaders from across the state. Howard County Schools is cutting bus routes while increasing its transportation budget. Fox 45 News Project Baltimore tracks down where that money is going and why families losing bus service don't think it adds up.
It seems like a big waste of money.
Baltimore police officers are turning down overtime, the colossal task the department faces to keep you safe with over 500 vacancies.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
Good evening, I'm Maxine Stryker.
And I'm Mary Bubala. Fox 45 News demanding accountability for your tax dollars as we follow breaking news. The Baltimore Banner reporting former Police Commissioner Michael Harrison is still on the city payroll.
It comes as Mayor Brandon Scott approves the biggest budget in recent city history thanks to the American Rescue Plan dollars. Fox 45's Jeff Abel is looking into what happens when that ARPA money runs out, while Mackenzie Frost is pressing the mayor for answers on a contract extension for a group managing a Safe Streets site months after it was supposed to change hands.
But we begin with what we know about former Commissioner Harrison still on the city payroll. His contract with the city required 90 days notice of resignation. But the mayor's office won't disclose the terms of Harrison's separation, refusing to answer Fox 45's questions, citing the situation as a personnel matter. It is still not clear how long Harrison will remain employed and paid by the city. Now, all of this follows cryptic Instagram posts from the former commissioner's wife saying he did, quote, what he was sent to do. And this one picturing Harrison looming over a chessboard stating no caption needed. Now, Harrison's sudden departure adds to public safety vacancies in the city. Shantae Jackson, the director of the mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, is leaving at the end of the month, and the fire department has had acting leadership for several months now. Well, Fox 45 News will continue to follow this developing story and demand answers from city leaders. We'll keep you updated both on air and online. You can find all of our previous reporting on Harrison's departure on our website, foxbaltimore.com.
Commissioner Harrison isn't the only city employee raising questions about staffing tonight. The mayor's former chief of staff, Kezia Kager, is too. When she was hired in November of last year, she was making $225,000, about $40,000 more than her predecessor. Last month, she moved into a special advisor role. That jump comes with a lower salary, $160,000 annually. Mackenzie Frost asked the mayor about Kager's salary today because we have reason to believe she might not have taken a pay cut.
Is she getting paid the $160 annual salary or still at the $225?
We'll send you all her direct information about what her salary is at appropriate time, and you know how we discuss personnel matters in a very sensitive way.
It's public information, right? Her salary, she's getting paid by taxpayers?
It will be public information, and we'll give you that guys that information in appropriate time.
Why did she stay on the city's payroll if she was changing from chief of staff to now a special assistant to the mayor?
Well, folks move around in offices all the time, so that's not people move from one agency to another. That happens consistently. Folks,
she stayed in your office.
Exactly. That happens a lot too. So this is not an uncommon thing, not within government or in private business.
What is a special assistant to the mayor?
Well, listen, we've sent you a direct response about that, Mackenzie. She'll be advising on things around culture, around dealing with external partners in city government. This is not something that is abnormal by any stance in any sense of the word. Everyone from the president on down has these type of people.
Last week, Fox 45 News spoke with City Council President Nick Mosby, who said he didn't know anything about Kager's new role or responsibilities. At the time, he said the lack of communication and Kager's salary was concerning.
As a city council president, do you feel like the council should have any sort of input or at least get a heads up when somebody is shifted over? I mean, $160,000 is a pretty high salary for somebody in a position that no one seems to know what she's doing.
No, that's definitely a good salary, particularly for Baltimore City government. It's more than I make. But yeah, totally. I mean, I think that we've talked to the administration and particularly the CA, Faith Leach, about communication and ensuring that the council's up to date. You know, obviously we never want to learn stuff through the media, and it's concerning.
Well, another concern for taxpayers, the city's spending board is greenlighting a contract extension for a community nonprofit managing a Safe Streets site. The issue is that nonprofit was supposed to be done working with Safe Streets nearly 6 months ago. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost continues our team coverage.
So this contract extension was between the city and Park Heights Renaissance to manage the Park Heights Safe Streets location. It's the second time this contract has been extended, and as our investigation continues, we're also finding out that some of the Safe Streets sites may also be moving. The contract with Park Heights Renaissance was set to conclude at the end of 2022. But now it says the nonprofit will wrap up Safe Streets work by August 30th, 2023, almost 1 year after Mayor Brandon Scott first announced the management of the 10 Safe Streets locations would be shifting away from the patchwork of community-based organizations.
It's about evolving.
Instead of several nonprofits overseeing the program, aiming to reduce homicides and non-fatal shootings in small zones dotted around Baltimore, management would be done by LifeBridge and Catholic Charities.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion to proceed on the routine agenda.
After the contract extension was approved by the Board of Estimates Wednesday morning,
The ayes have it. The routine agenda has now been adopted.
Mayor Brandon Scott not offering much insight.
This was all supposed to be wrapped up by January. What's going on?
Well, listen, we still have stuff going on. There's a process that you have to go through. We know that Park Heights Renaissance and the city has a great relationship. You don't hear them complaining. The Safe Streets workers are still out there getting paid, doing the great work in Park Heights, and that work will continue until we're able to get the other stuff handled.
What other stuff needs to be handled and what's taking so long?
All the stuff that we're talking about is things that are privileged information right now, Mackenzie.
Does it have anything to do with payments or,
Everyone's being paid.
But the language from the spending board's agenda says the extension is necessary to process the final invoices for all remaining funds due. The contract extension isn't the only red flag being raised now about Safe Streets. New Fox 45 News drone video shows the Cherry Hill location, the trailer, no longer in the parking lot it once sat. That same trailer we've been to numerous times. And the Penn North Safe Streets location, once inside this building, now located around the corner, seen here in a new branded site. These changes do not match with the city's own community violence intervention map, showing the boundaries of the Safe Street zones and where the sites are located. So we followed up with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, asking what's taking so long for the management switch to be completed? When did these locations move? Where is the Cherry Hill Safe Streets site? When will the correct information be listed online? And how is the community and the public supposed to know where the locations are if the information online isn't accurate? The latest round of questions come as a city agency implementing Safe Streets will soon have a new leader. Those questions we sent were never answered. Meanwhile, Monzi Director Shantae Jackson is set to leave her position inside City Hall next Friday, and it's unclear who will take her place. In the newsroom, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
And Fox 45 News has been demanding answers about how the Safe Street spends its money for more than a year. In January, Baltimore City handed over more than 450 pages worth of Safe Streets related contracts after we threatened legal action. The contract shed light into how the program operates. The names of employees are redacted because Safe Street says they're not city employees. They work for the nonprofit that operates their location. You can find more on those contracts on our website, foxbaltimore.com.
We're turning now to concerns over the city budget. The mayor signed the fiscal year 2024 budget yesterday. It's one of the biggest in recent city history, but now concerns about whether it's sustainable. Fox 45's Jeff Abel takes a look at the numbers and the impact it could have on taxpayers. Jeff?
Well, one of the city's leading economists is predicting tonight that the city's new fiscal budget will do little to rescue it from its painful financial despair.
At City Hall, the mayor signed and praised the city's new $4.4 billion budget.
This budget will support all of us as we work to strengthen our great city.
In terms of how the city is spending its money, I don't find that to be compelling.
But economist Anabon Basu believes there is little in this new budget that will bring Baltimore back.
We are the Cleveland of our times. shrinking population and tax base. We're basically a laughingstock, and city government's not doing really anything to change that.
When compared to the city's budget just 3 years ago, this new budget calls for 22% more spending. However, revenue coming into the city during the same time period has increased by just more than 12%. Among the recipients, the Baltimore City Schools, where funding has increased 45% from 3 years ago. The Mayor's Office of Employment Development, whose budget has soared 141% from 3 years ago. And the Mayor's Office of Safety and Engagement, or MONSE, which is set to receive 124% more funding than in 2020. In many cases, funding will be used to beef up staffs at City Hall. The Mayor's Office of Children and Family Success, which didn't exist 3 years ago, is now budgeted for 150 full-time positions. The staff at the Mayor's Office of Equity and Civil Rights will more than double from 3 years ago.
So right now, Baltimore city government is pretty big.
Right now, the city is benefiting from an infusion of $641 million in federal funds, which are supposed to help the city recover from the pandemic. But there's one problem.
The funding is not sustainable. These are one-time funds.
In fact, Comptroller Bill Henry says the funds are largely being spent on one-time projects or to support existing programs that may have a better chance of enticing future investment from other sources with an infusion of ARPA cash now. When the money runs out, the mayor and city council will have to determine whether the city should be continuing any of the investments using the regular general funds available in the annual budget. But for now, Basu says the budget provides little hope for recovery.
We need to add population. We need to add taxpayers right now, and the city is not doing that.
And without growing the tax base and the city's population, Basu fears the city could be digging itself an even deeper financial hole. We are live tonight. Jeff Abel, Fox 45 News.
Don't miss our next Your Voice, Your Future town hall tomorrow night at 7. Armstrong Williams sits down with former Mayor Sheila Dixon to talk about the state of Baltimore City and ways to make improvements. That's live tomorrow night at 7 on FoxBaltimore.com. You can also watch it right here this Saturday at 6 p.m. on the CW Baltimore Saturday at 3 and on My TV Sunday at 1.
We've been dealing with a weather maker leading to rain throughout much of the day. Right now, we're not seeing a complete washout around the state, but we do have showers that will continue off and on overnight, and then more rain comes tomorrow. I'll let you know the timing and how much rain we could see in my Weather Authority forecast. Back.
Next on Fox 45 News at 10, a big boost to school transportation funding in Howard County, but a cut in bus routes. Project Baltimore digs into where the money is going and the skyrocketing costs. A local NAACP chapter meets for the first time since the civil rights group convened a meeting to address Maryland public education's failing African American students. Why they say it's only the beginning. And the red line revived. Fox 45 News looks into the potential costs nearly a decade after a $3 billion price tag as the state keeps new estimates under wraps.
Thousands of students in Howard County, the wealthiest county in Maryland, are losing their school buses. At the same time, the district is spending millions more on transportation.
So where is the money going? Project Baltimore's Chris Papps investigates what could be the driving factor.
Hey, here's a school. They get a bus.
What? Yeah, they have a bus.
What? That's not fair!
For Mark Sam Chi.
Cool, the school's right here, and the neighborhood's right here.
School bus service in Howard County makes no sense.
Here's the bus.
Last week, on the last day of school, Sam Chi's 6-year-old daughter and all the other elementary school students in this Elkridge neighborhood rode the bus for the last time. These kids and 3,500 other students in Howard County are now considered walkers.
Yeah.
The district says it's working to make transportation more efficient. But Sam Chi isn't convinced.
The neighborhood directly across the street from the school has a bus serving them next year. Literally across the street.
Strange, but true. This is the district's bus coverage map. This neighborhood that's feet from the school has bus service. Sam Chi's neighborhood, parts of which are more than a mile from the school, lost its bus. Howard County told Fox 45 News this neighborhood has a bus because there's no crossing guard at the intersection.
But these kids right here who are literally, 100 yards from the school, the front of their neighborhood, they don't walk because they don't have a crossing guard.
Over the last few years, Howard County has significantly increased its transportation budget. It's up $13 million, or about 30%, over the last 2 years. But if 3,500 fewer students now have a bus, and intersections like this one don't have crossing guards, where's the extra money going?
It's a head scratcher, right?
Howard County Public Schools will not agree to an interview with Project Baltimore to answer that question. But in a statement, the school system cited critical driver shortages and a change in school start times, which decreases the window of time to transport students, saying
Well, Congress has voted to censure California Democrat Adam Schiff, claiming Representative Schiff went too far in amplifying the Trump-Russia campaign collusion allegations after the 2016 election. Schiff says he wears the disapproval as, quote, a badge of honor. The resolution mandates the House Ethics Committee takes up the issue. It does not include a $16 million fine, which was a prior version that was voted down.
The U.S. justice system is under fire by those who think the president's son is getting special treatment with his plea deal.
Hunter Biden plans to plead guilty to tax and gun charges.
National correspondent Kayla Gaskins has more from Washington.
The fairness of the American legal system coming under scrutiny after Hunter Biden agreed to a plea deal with prosecutors for tax and gun charges, avoiding a trial and prison.
This has been a favorable deal for the Bidens on multiple levels.
Critics calling it a sweetheart deal, another example of a corrupt DOJ with two tiers of justice.
I would seriously doubt any American facing those tax charges or facing a gun charge would be able to say, I was on drugs, so please let me off.
The timing also raising eyebrows. After 5 years of investigating, lawyer Alan Dershowitz pointing out the announcement dropped in the wake of former President Donald Trump's own indictment.
That's not a coincidence, particularly after how many years of investigation? Why now? Well, now because the media is saying, the media on the left is saying, well, this shows equal justice.
Attorney General Merrick Garland fighting back against accusations of a corrupt DOJ, pointing out Donald Trump appointed U.S. Attorney David Weiss, who cut the deal.
As I said, from the moment of my appointment as Attorney General, I would leave this matter in the hands of the United States Attorney, who was appointed by the previous president.
Former U.S. Attorney Josh Fishwick says there's not enough information on the plea deal to know if it's fair.
We do need to hear from Mr. Weiss. He is the one who's made these decisions. Why is the tax charge only going to be a misdemeanor? Why is the gun charge basically going to be dismissed? The American people deserve answers.
Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren says Hunter Biden was treated like any other citizen.
He negotiated a deal, which is what any criminal defendant can do.
President of the Government Accountability Institute, Peter Schweitzer, pointing out it's still unclear what exactly Hunter Biden did to earn the money he failed to pay taxes on.
There is no discernible business service, anything that they performed for that money. You've got at least $30 million coming to the Bidens from foreign entities, Ukraine, Russia, and China.
It's a question House Republicans hope to answer as they investigate allegations Joe Biden's family sold influence and access to him while he was vice president. In Washington, I'm Kayla Gaskins.
Well, we want you to join the national conversation. Our question is, do you think there's a double standard with justice in the Hunter Biden case? So far, 60% of voters say yes. Go to foxbaltimore.com/vote and select the Pulse tab to weigh in.
Education is the great elevator, and so we have to make sure that it's working for all of our children.
The Randallstown chapter of the NAACP demanding better for Maryland's children. What they say needs to happen to make sure no children are left behind.
Red flags over the red line. Why one taxpayer watchdog is worried about the price tag and the toll it could take on your wallet.
We are following three big stories at 10:30.
A taxpayer watchdog is raising red flags over the Red Line project. Fox 45 News is following the money, examining what it could mean for your wallet.
Acting Police Commissioner Richard Worley making his first presentation before a city council committee today as some residents call for more officers on the streets.
The Randallstown NAACP demanding better for students in Baltimore County and throughout the state. We begin with the crisis in the classroom.
Education, a big topic of conversation during tonight's Randallstown NAACP meeting following a conference on the topic held by the civil rights group from across the state last week.
Fox 45's Keith Daniels spoke with the chapter president and joins us live now with their concerns. Keith?
Well, Maxine and Mary, members of the civil rights organization believe the education system across Maryland is in critical condition at the moment, with black students most at risk. And tonight, the continued push for action.
I was happy that we had it and that we started the discussion.
Tonight, reaction from Ryan Coleman, Randallstown's NAACP president. In fact, mixed reaction after the NAACP launched its first ever conference last week.
And each and every one of you have the solution.
With hopes of finding solutions to the crisis in the state's classrooms.
These schools are failing black kids. I mean, when you have schools where 90% of the children are not proficient in math, and proficient is just a low standard.
Coleman speaking out on the night his chapter hosts its meeting, the first after the conference. Top of mind, education, and that conference, notably the glaring no-shows.
Then I'm wondering why the other superintendents or either a deputy superintendent from, other locals didn't show up.
The NAACP invited representatives from all 24 local districts in Maryland to come to the table, find solutions during its two-day conference. Just 7 of the 24 school districts showed up. Baltimore County's new superintendent was the only superintendent to attend.
I think some solutions have to do with increased hiring and also the curriculum and instruction that we put in front of our students. I'm excited to go to the rest of the sessions and find out what else they have to offer.
In Maryland, the 2 lowest performing school districts are Baltimore City and Prince George's County, 2 districts with the highest number of African American students. The NAACP hopes to work with educators to find solutions, but warns other actions may be necessary.
We talk a lot about what do we do with criminals? What do we do with this? What do we do with that? Education is the great elevator, and so we have to make sure that it's working for all of our children, especially black students.
Well, leaders of the NAACP say they will convene in about 2 weeks to decide what happens next, which could include, they say, bold initiatives. We're live tonight. Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
Keith, thank you. Fox 45's Project Baltimore has been investigating the failures within schools across the state for years. You can find all the reporting on our website, foxbaltimore.com.
Acting Police Commissioner Richard Worley making his first presentation in his position before a city council committee today following last week's mass shooting in northeast Baltimore.
Residents there calling for a heavier police presence. Councilman Mark Conway agrees, but with the police shortage, that's easier said than done.
Fox 45's Vincent Hill joins us live with a closer look at the challenges Worley is inheriting. Vincent?
Well, Maxine and Mary, we've all heard that old saying, you couldn't pay me enough to do that job. Well, for BPD, that may actually be true. A northeast Baltimore community still reeling over Friday night's mass shooting that injured 6.
Children are not afraid to die.
A 17-year-old boy was among the wounded, many calling the violence a war zone on the streets they call home.
These children are basically holding you hostage in your own neighborhood. This is domestic terrorism.
And looking to city leaders for more.
We know that we need more police presence.
Councilman Mark Conway, who represents that district, hearing the wants of his constituents.
If the community is saying it, I think it's a conversation we need to have.
Taking those concerns to Wednesday's public safety meeting and Acting Commissioner Richard Worley.
How are we thinking about addressing these issues? Because I can tell you folks are Folks are really frustrated, and we can't just say that we're working on it. It takes time.
Worley addressing the lack of officers, citing the dismal state of recruitment.
We're not getting 100 officers anytime soon. I think the next class has only got 20 or 22 in it.
In the meantime, he says he's using federal grant money to offer overtime. But the night of the mass shooting,
nobody signed up for the overtime. So that's probably where they would have been.
Law enforcement analyst Melissa Pinkleton says Worley is walking into a problem that started years ago.
Not only have we ended up with a shortage of officers, we've ended up with a huge spike in crime. And we are now seeing that the defund the police movement has failed miserably.
In 2020, the city council cutting $22 million from the police department's budget, led in part by then city council president, now mayor, Brandon Scott.
Many of the young people who have led the protests and demonstrations here in Baltimore have been demanding that we finally think about investing in their future.
Worley, who now reports to the mayor, looking to do more with less.
You always have to shift the chess pieces, so we've got to do with what we have.
And right now, the department is over 500 officers short. This as shootings are expected to rise during the summer. For now, we're live at BPD headquarters. Vincent Hill, Fox 45 News.
Vincent, thank you. Now a closer look at the department's staffing problems shows several hundred of the officers needed would be on patrol, walking beats and responding to crime. Former Deputy Commissioner Jason Johnson explains that changing tactics and safety.
We know that the number of uniformed patrol officers out there is not the only factor that's important in public safety. There are many others, but this one is critical. This one, I would dare say, is the most critical. It gets to the department's ability to immediately respond to a crisis.
Well, City Police Union President Sergeant Michael Mancuso says current staffing levels leave only 10 to 14 officers on patrol at a given time per shift in each of the 9 BPD districts.
Also, during the public safety hearing today, a representative from the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement said no juveniles have been transported to connection centers since the curfew started almost a month ago.
And we have not been seeing, we've had no youth actually transported to either the centers.
Young people found on the streets after curfew could not be forced to go to those connection centers, though. When the mayor first introduced the plan, experts Fox 45 spoke with said they were concerned that meant no juveniles would agree to be transported to the centers. Some pointed out the program is using $1 million taxpayer dollars to fund empty centers and staff a program that isn't transporting young people. You can find more on those concerns at today's public safety hearing on our website at foxbaltimore.com.
Governor Wes Moore tried to get a handle on the crime. He unveiled his summer crime plan last week. It is based on 3 pillars: support for law enforcement, building stronger communities, and collaboration across all levels of government. Critics say the plan is heavy on rhetoric, but light on details.
The bottom line is press conferences, policy papers, plans, while they're important, citizens don't give 2 cents about any of that. They care about wanting to feel and actually being safe. So a plan is only as good as its ability to be executed.
We want to know what you think. Is Baltimore City safer because of Governor Moore's crime plan? So far, 88% of voters say no. Head to foxbaltimore.com/vote to weigh in.
It's been nearly a week since Governor Wes Moore vowed to revive the Red Line in Baltimore. Now a taxpayer watchdog is raising alarms about the price tag for the massive transportation project. Fox 45's Amy Simpson explains.
According to Governor Moore, the Red Line is still being studied. Right now, we still don't know if this will be a new light rail corridor, a rapid bus transit system, or a combo of both. With a promise of connecting communities from Bayview to Woodlawn, Maryland Governor Wes Moore is resurrecting Baltimore's Red Line.
This is going to happen.
And while he vows for the Red Line to become reality, the governor says right now it's still too early to know how much it'll cost.
We're still in the process of coming up with the final plan, so we don't know what the final cost is going to be, but we do know that this cost will be in the billions of dollars.
When former Governor Larry Hogan canceled plans for the Red Line in 2015, the project had an estimated price tag of $2.9 billion, but those were yesterday's dollars. not accounting for current inflation or the soaring cost of materials and labor. In New England, Boston's Big Dig project from the late 90s and early 2000s is considered by some to be the largest highway project in American history. And a recent analysis of the project by NASA says the estimated cost of the Big Dig surpassed $14 billion, more than 5 times the initial estimate.
We plan on this being on time and on budget, and so I think it's a bit premature to say that there can be cost overruns.
President of the Taxpayers Protection Alliance says he's wary of how the Red Line's budget could balloon.
Quite frankly, I think the price could go up for a number of reasons because everything is always behind schedule and over budget.
David Williams weighing in on Fox 45 Morning News this week.
And this is going to be very expensive. We're talking about almost $3 billion for this 14-mile line. So that is about $200 million per mile. That's expensive. So I'm really concerned about the price tag, but also that it's really not going to serve as many people as they'd hoped.
The Red Line project is intended to connect communities to opportunities, things like school, new jobs, or access to health care. Though data from the Maryland Transportation Authority shows Baltimore's rail ridership has been on the decline for a decade. The blue line here showing yearly Metro subway ridership, the orange line, light rail ridership. This taxpayer advocate supports transportation alternatives other than a new rail corridor.
An enhanced bus system. And what this does, it's a lot cheaper. It's a lot cheaper to have buses. It's a lot cheaper to operate buses.
Colorado's Department of Transportation estimates a new transit bus could cost anywhere from $250,000 to $280,000.
Welcome aboard the MTA.
Meaning $3 billion for the Red Line could also buy more than 10,000 buses for rapid transit in the Baltimore region.
And what I love about buses is they're flexible, is that you can deploy them through other parts of the city. Once you build a light rail system, you're really stuck in this one area.
And while the governor said it's too soon to put a price tag on this Red Line project, he was more confident giving a timeline, saying construction could begin as soon as 2026 or 2027. In Baltimore, Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
Next, the story making headlines across the world. Time running out for rescue crews to find that missing submersible and the 5 people on board. How much oxygen is left and what we know about the banging noises crews are hearing. Plus, Fox 45 News investigates the future of the mayor's Clean Core initiative. Questions about where $15 million will go or has gone now that the city has terminated some contracts.